Well, if it isn't your pal Exotic Big Absol Blaze, and what do you know? Once again, welcome back to another scary story. Gotta keep going with the flow and just upload and make just read and upload more scary story for you guys, just so that I won't have to make you guys wait for at least a day or a few days just for a new scary story for me to upload a new story on YouTube. And don't worry, but today I have a new a scary science fiction story, just like from the last story I read, the Jaunt. And but this time this one is called Spacewalk. And first and foremost, I just want to say that as the first and foremost, this story was very interesting to me when I first look at it, because mainly because of the picture, the thumbnail of the story, which basically shows a picture an image of a man inside a astronaut and coming face to face with a dead astronaut outside the spaceship. Yeah, as you can see here, yeah, it just shows a man with seen face to face with a dead astronaut outside the spaceship. Well, let's get to it. Let's see what this story has in store for us. And you already know by the description, and all it says is about and all it just says in the description, a story about two astronauts who are traveling back to Earth on a spaceship. Yeah, that's all it says. But let's see what we'll uncover in this story. What will happen in this one? Well, I already know for a fact that this is going to be a good story. But with all but without further ado, let's get back. Just sit back, relax, and watch me cook as I read the story. And also, right, I almost forgot to mention that I'll always, just as usual, I'll always copy and paste the link of the website ScaryForKids in the description below, so that you guys can take a trip to this website. But with all that aside, let's get on with the story. Sit back, relax, get some popcorn, and watch me as I read the story Spacewalk. Yeah, so this is Spacewalk. Enjoy. The silence was maddening. Day after day, week after week, month after month, I sat there listening to the endless silence. I couldn't take it anymore. When we left Earth, there had been 20 men on board. Now there were only two, myself and Burnsey. We were on the last leg of a 3-year mission to explore deep space. Every day, Burnsey sat there reading his books. Whenever I tried to talk to him, he just ignored me. He wouldn't even look at me. Ever since the accident, he only spoke to me when it was absolute. Ever since the accident, he only spoke to me when it was absolutely necessary. Wait, but what accident? Yeah, there's no mention about an accident that happened. It wasn't my fault. I said, it was an accident. That's the truth. You've got to believe me, Burnsey. He flipped the pages of his book, acting as if I don't exist. It was a momentary slip. I protested. A lapse of concentration. It could have happened. It could have happened to anyone. Burnsey didn't even reply. It had been 6 months since. It had been 6 months since the accident. One of the engines had burned out. It had to be repaired. 18 men went out on a spacewalk to fix it. Burnsey and I had been left alone on the ship. Our job was to test that the instruments were working correctly. There was a checklist we had to go through. Burnside went through the list, calling out each test one by one. I flipped the switches, but something went wrong. I don't know how it happened, but I flipped the wrong switch. The engines roared into life. Some of the men on the spacewalk were incinerated immediately. Some of the men on the spacewalk were incinerated immediately. At least, at least I hope that's what happened. The others were sent hurtling into space. Their bodies were out of there. They're still out there somewhere, floating aimlessly. In less an hour, their oxygen would have run out. They died a terrible death, and now their corpses are doomed to drift forever, somewhere out there in the vastness of space. I didn't mean to kill them, I said. It was an accident. Burnside turned and glared at me. It was murder, he growled. Plain and simple. If it hadn't been you, those 18 men would be still alive. I'm sure you would have killed me too if you had the chance. In another 6 months, we'll be back to Earth. Then you'll stand trial for your crimes. I'll testify against you, and I'll make sure they know exactly what you did. They'll find you guilty, and you'll rot in prison for the rest of your miserable life. I sighed and looked at the clock. It's time for the spacewalk, I said. Every day we had to do a spacewalk to check the integrity of the spaceship's outer hull, and make sure there was no damage from stray meteor strikes. It was my turn today. It was always my turn. Ever since the accident, Burnside didn't trust me one bit. I didn't trust him early. I didn't trust him either. While I went out on the spacewalk, he he stayed on the ship. If he wanted to, he could lock me out. I wasn't going to let that happen. So when he wasn't looking, I took the key to the hatch so I could open it from the outside if I needed to. So yeah. So now we finally found out about the accident. So basically, this main character accidentally killed all the 18 men who were on the spacewalk, like hurling them out into the darkness of outer space, with them floating aimlessly. Then died of suffocation, and now their dead bodies are still floating out there into the depths of space. I put on my spacesuit and my magnetic boots and stepped into the airlock, sealing the door behind me. I climbed up the ladder and opened the hatch. Then I stepped out onto the hull of the ship. I stared out at the vast blackness of space, dotted with tiny twinkling stars. It was completely silent. I walked across the side of the ship, my magnetic boots clumping against the hull. After examining the outside, I didn't find any problems. Then I had an idea. I clicked the button on my communicator and shouted, Burnsy, one of the plates is badly damaged. It needs to be repaired immediately." "Okay," Burnsy replied. I'll get the tools." After a while, Burnsy emerged from the hatch, wearing his spacesuit. He was carrying a toolbox around his arm. He came walking towards me, his magnetic boots clumping slowly along the hull. "Where is it?" he asked. I didn't reply, just pointed towards the rear of the spacecraft. Burnside started walking. As soon as he had his back turned to me, I slipped down the hatch and closed it behind me. I unsealed the door and stepped out of the airlock. Over the communicator, I could hear Burnside shouting and screaming and trying to reason with me. I took off my helmet so I didn't have to listen to him. I could hear his magnetic boots clumping back and forth across the hull of the ship. He was probably trying to pry open the hatch, desperately to get it back inside the ship before his oxygen ran out, but it was no use. Soon he would be dead. Oh no. Oh no! Now he's doing this. He's doing the same thing to what he. Now he's doing the same thing to Burnside, just like the way of how the main character did for the 18 men. Suddenly, Burnside appeared outside the port window. His face was contorted and his eyes were bulging out of their sockets. He was slowly suffocating. I watched as his I watched as his face turned red, then purple. He clawed at his helmet as he struggled to draw his last breath. Blood began running from his eyes. I couldn't stand to watch anymore. It made me sick. With Burnsie dead, there was nobody to tell the people back on Earth about the accident. His body would be burned up on re-entry. I could make up a, s- I could make up some story to explain the disappearance of the rest of the crew, and nobody would suspect a thing. Oh my gosh, this character is evil. I mean, I get that it was an accident. Like he didn't mean to like he didn't mean to he didn't mean to kill all the 18 men. But now but now he's doing the same thing to what he did to Burnside, making him suffer the same fate as the other 18 men, as the rest of the crew. Days passed as the ship continued on its slow progress back to Earth. Whenever I looked at the port window, Burnside would be standing there, swaying back and forth, staring in at me. His magnetic boots kept him fixed in place. His dead eyes hung out from out of their sockets. I tried not to look, but I couldn't stop myself. Eventually, I couldn't stand the sight of him any longer. I put on my spacesuit. Excuse me. I put on my spacesuit and my magnetic boots and made my way to the airlock. I made sure to bring the key with me. I didn't want to get stranded on the outside. I opened the hatch and stepped out onto the hull of the ship. The hatch door closed behind me. I clumped across the ship towards Burnside's corpse. I couldn't bear to look him in the face. I tugged at his magnetic boots, struggling to free him from the ship's hull. One of his legs came loose and then the other. I gave him a hard shove and his weightless body began to drift away. Goodbye, goodbye, Burnside, I said. See you in hell. Okay. Goodbye, Burnside, I said. See you in hell. I turned and started clumping back towards the hatch. Then I stopped and looked over my shoulder. I looked back at Burnside's corpse as it drifted off into the vastness of space. His bulging, lifeless eyes stared back at me. His twisted mouth seemed to grin at me. One of his arms moved slightly as if he was waving at me. Then, as he slowly floated away, I caught sight of something in his gloved hand. No, I cried. No, no, no! His hand was clutching the key to the hatch door. The silence of space is all around me. For almost an hour, I have been standing here, fixed to the hull of the ship, swaying back and forth, listening to the silence. I stare in through the port window and I wait. I'm waiting for the moment when my oxygen supply runs out, waiting until my face turns red, then purple, waiting until I started clawing my waiting until I started clawing at my helmet as I struggled to draw my last breath, waiting for the blood to start running from my eyes and I waiting for the blood to start running from my eyes and then I know it and then I will know it's finally the end. Oh no. Oh my. Holy crap. That was it. That was the ending I didn't expect. So I guess basically Birthday wasn't dead at all. Okay, if I could try my hard to paraphrase it. So basically, yeah, it looks like that Burnsie wasn't dead at all. He wasn't really dead from the from the lack of oxygen. So he basically just like like passed out from the lack of oxygen, but and then suddenly he went back to life. He woke up and basically like did the Uno reverse card on this dude right here, and made him suffer the same fate as the other 18 men. Holy crap! This guy's a genius. I mean, well, I kind of have to agree with Burnsay. It is the main character's fault for the cause for the murder of the crew, for the murder of the rest of the crew, and so yeah, the main character deserves to be dead. He definitely deserves to go to hell, not Burnsay. Now, and now, and now, the main character is now hurtling to space, suffering his fatal breath, suffering and taking his last fatal breath as he is floating in space in the depths and black darkness of space, with no one be able to save him. But all right, guys, that was the story. That was the story, Spacewalk. If you guys enjoyed the story, you guys already know this. You guys already know the drill. Like, subscribe, comment, and let me know what stories you guys want me to read. And I'll be sure to check out the stories that you posted on the description, on the comment section, on the down in the comments. I'll be sure to check it out, and let me know, and I'll be sure to take your request and read that story that you want me to read. But overall, I'm just gonna have to end the video here, and this was really honestly one of the best stories I've read. And thank you so much for sticking out to the end. Until next time, I'll catch you up with the next. I'll catch you guys in the next video. So without further ado, I'll see you guys later. Peace.